The narrative begins in 1977 in the famous neighborhood of Cabrini-Green, where we find a small child named William playing. In his bedroom, William hears his mother's voice interrupting him to do the laundry. While he's doing this, William runs into two police officers who are chasing a man named Sherman. Sherman is well known for enticing kids with candy and striking dread in their hearts in spite of their questions. William claims he hasn't seen Sherman and walks to the laundry room, but as he's doing his chore, he is startled by a figure that appears out of nowhere, Sherman, who is easily recognized by his hook hand and his offer of candy to William. The encounter greatly terrifies William, causing him to scream uncontrollably, which promptly alerts the police. Many years later, Troy and his friend Grady are shown visiting Brianna's house. Brianna, Troy's sister, lives with her boyfriend Anthony, a failed artist. Frantically, despite Anthony's artwork's shortcomings, Brianna, in her role as art director, always makes sure he has opportunities to showcase his work. Troy starts by telling him about a terrifying urban legend about their neighborhood, Cabrini-Green. The legend revolves around a graduate student named Helen Lyle who once started a research project about Cabrini-Green. However, her story takes a dark turn as she begins committing murders for no apparent reason. After her rampage leads in the kidnapping of a newborn and her presence at a yearly bonfire with the intention of sacrificing the infant, Helen is stopped by the crowd, who in a terrifying turn of events, rescues the baby. The following days, Anthony shows Clive, an art dealer, his most recent artwork. Clive is unimpressed, suggesting that Anthony should explore themes reflecting the societal divide between black and white communities and the long-standing issue of white supremacy. Inspired, Anthony decides to base his new artwork on the history of the Cabrini-Green housing projects. Helen walks into the flames of the bonfire, submitting to the fire. This story deeply disturbs Anthony, who later verifies its authenticity through online research. As the story progresses, Anthony goes on a quest to discover the depths of Cabrini-Green's haunting past. His adventure takes him to an old, almost mystical church within Cabrini-Green, where an unexpected beasting occurs while he's capturing the scene with his camera undeterred. Anthony dives into online research and finds various articles about the mysterious figure of Helen Lyle and the haunting legacy of Cabrini-Green. Anthony explores a lonely area of Cabrini-Green and comes across an abandoned house. There, he finds disturbing pictures of a man who is pressuring him to snap pictures while he walks around the eerily silent neighborhood. Anthony meets William, the same person we first met as children at the start of the narrative, and who is now an adult. William owns a laundry business in the area. By a strange turn of events, Anthony is invited inside the laundry where William shares his knowledge of Helen Lyle's hunt for the Candyman. According to William, Helen's quest led her to Sherman, the notorious Candyman known for his hook hand and reputation for giving candy to neighborhood kids. William describes a terrifying event from October in which a razor blade was discovered in a young girl's Halloween candy. The police suspect Sherman right away and begin a manhunt, but Sherman disappears without a trace. William vividly recalls his own childhood encounter with Sherman, which culminated in a horrific incident in which several police officers stormed into the apartment after hearing William's screams, mortally injuring Sherman and making additional razor blades and candies emerge. Weeks shows Sherman's innocence. Later, William is profoundly touched by Sherman's terrible narrative and is convinced that Sherman will continue to remain in the area even after his death. Anthony uses this idea to create a painting. Later, Brianna sees this artwork showing Sherman's death at the hands of the police. She finds the painting unsettling since it captures the pain it conjures. Then, at a humorous moment, Anthony tells her the story of Candyman, who is said to be able to commit murder by speaking his name 5 times in front of a mirror. Brianna is jokingly urged by Anthony to put the mythology to the test, but she is hesitant and doesn't believe it enough to take the chance of calling in any supernatural beings. Anthony in a playful way starts to chant the Candyman, but Brianna interrupts, scolding him in a semi-joking manner for his stupidity. The story picks up the following day, when Anthony's art project is revealed at an art exhibition in Clive's gallery. His paintings are placed in front of a vanity mirror with a provocative caption that challenges viewers to say the word, Candyman, 5 times. During the exhibition, Anthony tries to explain his artistic vision to Finley, an art critic who is clearly unimpressed with his work. The evening gets heated as Anthony, who is intoxicated, gets into a heated argument with some attendees who suggest that Brianna is the only reason for his success. As the evening comes to a conclusion, Clive and his girlfriend Jerica are seen cleaning up the gallery amid a mess of beer bottles and party trash. Clive is clearly irritated, not just with Anthony's disruptive behavior but also with Brianna, who he feels ought to have handled the situation more skillfully. The narrative then picks up with Jerica trying in a comical but misguided moment to ease Clive's frustration. To their dismay, Jerica gleefully screams, "Candyman," 5 times as she peers into a mirror. The horrific scene ends with Candyman painstakingly placing their lifeless bodies next to each other in a horrifying act beside Anthony's artwork. The urban legend proves to be terrifyingly real as Candyman appears in the mirror like a ghastly reflection in a shocking turn of events. Candy then viciously attacks, slitting Jericho's throat and turning on Clive despite his desperate attempts to escape. Clive too falls victim. The depressing discovery of the next day when Brianna enters the office, she is met with the horrifying sight of Clive and Jer's lifeless bodies, strikingly set against Anthony's artwork. She quickly notifies the police, and word of the incident quickly spreads like wildfire. Anthony is watching television when he hears that his name and artwork are linked to the horrific killings. The story explores the depths of Brianna's mind as she has a terrifyingly vivid nightmare about her father killing himself. In her dream, a young Brianna approaches her father, who is perched precariously on a windowsill. The nightmare ends abruptly, and Brianna awakens to another terrifying vision, Sherman staring back at her from the mirror. Realizing that this was a nightmare inside a nightmare, she rushes to the bathroom and finds Anthony visibly shaken and clearly distressed. He mentions having a bad dream but provides no further details, leaving Brianna in a state of anxiety. The following day, Anthony plans to explore Helen's camera and audio files at the school library where she graduated. However, his plans are derailed when he discovers with alarm that the bee-sting infection has spread alarmingly. The elevator he is in breaks down, and a sinister piece of candy drops to the floor, revealing a razor blade that looks a lot like the tail from the little girl's case. In the days that follow, Anthony's obsession with Candyman grows as he creates more unsettling artwork while the infection spreads throughout his body. One night, he meets Finley, who Frank admits that her interest in his work is sparked by the fame it gained after the murders. Anthony's reflection in the elevator mirror transforms into Sherman's, sending him into a state of shock just before the lights go out. When the elevator doors finally open, Anthony leaves the confused students behind. Anthony talks passionately about Cabrini-Green and challenges her to comprehend his work by saying, "Candyman," 5 times in front of the mirror. Finley accepts the challenge despite Anthony's skepticism, and when Anthony does so, his reflection in the mirror horrifyingly changes into Candyman that looks like Sherman. This startling when Finley screams out to him. Frightened Anthony quickly leaves the room. However, as he does, a horrific scene plays out in which Candyman appears and brutally murders Finley's blood in a hideous exhibition spread across the window. After that, Anthony goes to see William, who shares a terrifying past. Candyman is not simply one person, rather, he stands for a group of people who experience severe racial injustice. William narrates the tale of Daniel, a black portrait painter in the 1890s. After falling in love and fathering a factory owner's child, Daniel's life tragically changed. This romance sparked a vicious mob attack in which Daniel was attacked, wrapped in honeycomb to ward off bee stings, and finally burned alive. Daniel's terrible demise signaled the birth of Candyman, a spiteful ghost who took on the anguish and sorrow of people like Bale, Sherman and Samuel, who suffered from racist brutality as well. William clarifies that Anthony's abuse is metaphorically connected to Candyman's personal suffering, while Brianna finds Anthony's unsettling drawings at home. When Anthony arrives, he quickly covers them and tells her not to look. He attempts to explain that he regrets calling Candyman's name, but Brianna brushes off his concerns as irrational in an effort to disprove the legend. Fearful of Anthony's behavior, Brianna starts to recite Candyman in front of a mirror, but Anthony destroys the mirror in a hurry to stop her. As days go by, Brianna seeks solace at her brother Troy's home, where Troy advises her to cut her ties with Anthony. As Anthony's condition worsens and the infection spreads to his neck and face, he makes the decision to seek medical attention. At the hospital, he discovers that, contrary to his mother's claims that he was born on the south side, he was actually born in Cabrini-Green. When Anthony confronts his mother, Marie reveals that, far from abducting him out of madness, Helen Lyle actually saved him from Candyman, who was planning to claim Anthony in a ritual fire. Due to Helen's actions, Anthony was able to safely return to Marie, and the neighborhood promised to keep quiet about Candyman in an effort to put an end to his terrifying rampage throughout Cabrini-Green. As Brianna and Troy, worried about Anthony's whereabouts, head to his apartment, Anthony enters a house with flashing lights. Brianna searches for Anthony and finds his hat at William's laundromat, where he abruptly kidnaps her. In a startling flashback, We see a young William witnessing Sherman as Candyman brutally murders his sister and her friend, indicating William's awareness of Sherman's true nature. After Brianna wakes up bound and gagged in a chapel, William fabricates a police complaint accusing Anthony of being a murderer. William expresses his conviction that Candyman is essential to confront the profound corruption of Cabrini-Green. He then brutally turns Anthony into Candyman by chopping off his hand and dressing him in a signature coat. But Brianna escapes and kills William in self-defense. When the police arrive, they shoot Anthony dead without raising any red flags, ending his tragic transformation into yet another victim of racial injustice and a new Candyman. When Brianna realizes the extent of the systematic injustice, she is handcuffed and threatened by a dishonest officer to either follow a false story or suffer unlawful imprisonment. As the story comes to a close, Brianna accepts the officer's requirements, but not before asking to glance in the rearview mirror. She chants Candyman 5 times, calling forth Anthony's spirit, who then exacts revenge on the officers. A hive of bees surrounds Anthony, transforming his face into Daniel's. As Brianna gets out of the squad car, she runs across Daniel in an alleyway with additional police. As the movie comes to an end, we are left to consider the perpetuation of injustice and the ability of storytelling to confront it, as Daniel gives Brianna the order to reveal the truth about Candyman. For more horror movie recaps, let us know in the comments section below if this story scared you. Join us on our channel, and we'll see you in the upcoming episode where terror awaits you. Candyman, 2021: A Legacy of Horror. Explanation: Candyman, 2021, isn't a direct sequel, but a spiritual successor to the 1992 horror classic. It dives into gentrification, racial violence, and the enduring power of urban legends. The story follows a young artist living in a now gentrified Chicago neighborhood who unknowingly awakens the vengeful spirit of Candyman by saying his name into a mirror. Criticism: while the film is visually stunning and explores thought-provoking themes, some critics found it lacking in scares compared to the original. Additionally, the social commentary, though relevant, can feel a bit heavy-handed at times. The moral: Candyman serves as a cautionary tale. It warns about the dangers of forgetting the past and the importance of remembering the victims of racial injustice. It also explores the power of storytelling and how urban legends can take on a life of their own.